Is there such a thing as an environment that supports transformational change? And if there was an environment that would support people to self actualize, to grow, to become more, what would that environment look like? In the field of neurosemantics, we have a model called the Crucible model. And that model is designed and actually has a series of processes or recipes that support doing just that, to create a space that supports growth and transformation for the coach as well as for the client or for yourself if you're self-coaching. And I'm wondering, do you know what a crucible is? Because it's a pretty interesting concept and it's a pretty cool metaphor when you really dive into it. So what a crucible is a crucible is kind of a pot that is used to boil the impurities out of metals. So you'll throw some gold in there and you'll boil this gold to the point where any impurities that are not gold would just melt away, disintegrate, and no longer be present in what's left over because it was not strong enough to handle that level of heat. And now the interesting thing about this is when you think about, well, you've got this pot and it's boiling away. It's boiling this precious metal and it's boiling away into the impurities. Think about how strong that pot must be. If the pot can support this process within it, it must be pretty strong, pretty able to weather anything. And so in the field of neurosemantics, we have this process or series of processes to this model that supports building that kind of a pot, that kind of a crucible inside of yourself, inside of somebody else, inside of the environment, the space that you're in, so that the space, the environment, the culture can handle the heat that it takes to boil away any impurities, anything that is not serving the highest and best of the people in the environment. So if we were to build a crucible space, meaning a space inside of ourselves, inside of somebody else, inside of an environment, or inside of a culture that was able to handle that level of heat, what would that be comprised of? And in this video, I'm not going to cover the full crucible process. Of course, that would be much more intensive than we're going to go into here. But I want to start thinking about what would that space be like for yourself if you were to build that. So one of the important ingredients of a crucible space, a space that supports transformational change, is going to be unconditional positive regard. What that means is that we have to be able to value ourselves or anybody else in this environment unconditionally, not based on their behavior, their performance, their results. We have to value the human being. We can always, of course, burn away the impurities of their thinking patterns, their feeling patterns, their behaving patterns, but themselves has to be firm and unconditionally valued. Another important ingredient in creating a crucible space is going to be basically unconditional acceptance of what is. If you can't accept what is for what it is, then you're not going to be able to look at it with the eyes that you need to in order to see it clearly and to get rid of anything within it that's not working. If I have spinach in my teeth and I'm afraid to look in the mirror, or I don't accept that, I go, no, there's no spinach in my teeth, I go into a state of denial, well, then I'm not going to be able to change that. And so really, if we're going to create this space, we're going to need to have some strong acceptance. There's going to have to be some strong appreciation of valuing of what is good. Because if we don't have this strong valuing of what is good, what is valuable, what are our blessings, what is working, then we don't have this counterweight to look at the what is not working and what is not good enough. And that quote from Abraham Maslow, the founder of self-actualization psychology, is the greatest non-evil force that creates evil and tragedy and suffering is not appreciating of our blessings. And so this crucible space is going to have some strong appreciation in it. And then personal responsibility, being able to recognize what we are in control of, what we're not in control of, and bringing in a lot of these higher values inside of this a lot of high values, a lot of really high, strong, almost sacred states to be able to hold in this space where we can now be so firm in our sense of selves, in what is as just a dispassionate fact, and of our value and the value of the things around us, and all of these higher values of beauty and perfection and love. And when we create this space, now all of a sudden it becomes real easy to kind of look at what is and melt away what's not serving. The space itself creates an environment that allows the transformation sometimes to even occur spontaneously without necessarily having to do anything, step-by-step process or anything like that. So my question for you is, how strong are you as a crucible to yourself, to your bad memories, to your own habits, to your own emotions? How strong are you as a crucible to hold the space for those things to be in such this high state that they can just melt away? As a coach, how strong are you, or how capable are you of creating this kind of a crucible space that I'm talking about here for your client? And how strong of a crucible space does your client have in themselves? Because that might be something important for you to facilitate them to build in themselves, to be able to look at what is and be okay with where they're at while they're growing and learning and becoming more. As a parent or as a leader, how much of a space do you have in the cultures that you live in for there to be this crucible space, for people to just be and to be valued and to be accepting and to be appreciative and to be loving and to be able to really look at the truth of what is and to be able to see that truth and hold that space of this powerful space, this crucible where anything that doesn't serve people can just melt away. And so I hope you found this video valuable. I'm Jason Schneider, the founder of the Perception Academy. I love working with coaches and leaders to help them to unleash the highest and best of human potential in the most efficient way possible, starting with themselves. If you have any questions or comments about this, I'm super curious to hear what are you taking away from this? How strong is your crucible space? What do you need of the maybe ingredients that I mentioned in this video that maybe would be your next step to work on? And any other questions or comments, I'm happy to see them. So I hope you got some value out of this video. I look forward to seeing you in future videos and in the comments section.